They walked in thinking they had a shot. They walked out shattered. One by one, the giants of darts fell, broken, embarrassed, erased by a single man with a throw so precise it felt cruel. Phil Taylor didn't just win, he dismantled legacies. His dominance wasn't a stat, it was a massacre. And the worst part, they saw it coming. Every single time. Tonight, we name the fallen and ask, who was left standing? When it came to World Championships, Phil Taylor was hunting legacies. From his very first world crown in the year 1990, the power didn't let up. He turned the biggest stage in darts into his personal demolition zone. Let's rewind the tape. It began in 1990 at the BDO World Final, where he dismantled the 5-time champion Eric Bristow, 6-1. 2 years later, it was Mike Gregory. A narrow 6-5, but still, the crown was Taylor's. Then came the PDC era, and the real carnage began. In the inaugural PDC World Final of 1995, he took out Rod Harrington 6-2. Then came the years of Dennis Priestley, nicknamed the Menace, and rightly so. He was a former champion himself. But against Taylor, he became a regular on the losing end. 6-4 in 1996, 6-3 in 97, and then a complete whitewash. 6-0 in 98. As if that wasn't enough, Taylor beat him again in the year 2000, 7-3. That's 4 world final meetings, 3 losses, an average scoreline of 7-2. Taylor didn't beat Dennis Priestley, he made him part of the set dressing. Then came Peter Manley. Another repeat victim. Taylor destroyed him 6-2 in 1999, and then humiliated him with back-to-back 7-0 beatings in 2002 and 2006. In the history of darts, no one else has lost 2 world finals without winning a single set, except Peter Manley, and both times it was Taylor delivering the execution. John Part, same story, 7-0 in 2001. Kevin Painter was nearly the exception, taking Taylor to a deciding set in 2004, but even then, the power held his nerve to win 7-6. From 2005 to 2013, Taylor added more bodies to the pile. Mark Dudbridge, Raymond van Barneveld, Simon Whitlock, and Michael van Gerwen all reached the final. All were handed defeats. 16 world titles, 16 opponents vanquished. The numbers tell a brutal truth. 6 finals where his opponent won 2 sets or fewer. 3 finals where they won 0 sets. One man, Taylor, responsible for turning world-class players into forgotten footnotes. And it wasn't just about winning, it was how he won. Without mercy, without blinking. In the World Championship crucible, Phil Taylor wasn't playing darts, he was delivering judgment. If the World Championship was where Taylor earned his crown, then the World Match Play in Blackpool was where he sharpened his sword. 16 match play titles, that's an empire. The Winter Gardens became a mausoleum for the hopes of countless competitors. Let's start with James Wade, arguably one of the best left-handers the sport has ever seen. Taylor met him in 4 match play finals and flattened him every single time. 2006, 18 legs to 11. 2008, 18 to 9. 2011, 18 to 8. 2012, 18 to 15. That last one, Wade threw everything he had and still got drowned. Then came Adrian Lewis, a generational talent, Taylor's own protege. That didn't save him. In 2013, Taylor dropped 18 legs on Lewis to 13 in return and barely broke a sweat. Raymond van Barneveld, 18 to 12 in 2010. Outplayed, outscored, outclassed. But perhaps no match play beating was more brutal than what happened to Terry Jenkins in 2009. Taylor humiliated him. It was 15 legs to 1 at one point. Final score, 18 to 4. Jenkins looked like a qualifier, not a finalist. This was the pattern, year after year. The greats of the game would claw and scrap their way through the bracket, only to face the same inevitable conclusion, Phil Taylor waiting at the end. In 2017, Taylor's final appearance at the match play, he wasn't supposed to win. He was nearly 57, outranked, outpaced, out of time, not a chance. He knocked out reigning champion Michael van Gerwen in the quarterfinals, 16 to 6, a complete ambush. Then walked through Peter Wright in the final, 18 to 8. In Blackpool, Taylor reigned with fire. If there was one tournament built to trip up even the best, it was the World Grand Prix. Double in, double out, no freebies, no rhythm. A test of nerve, precision, and mental toughness. And yet, Phil Taylor made it look easy. 11 Grand Prix titles, a format designed to level the field, and he still turned it into a graveyard for champions. Let's talk John Part, a 3-time world champion, a legend in his own right. But against Taylor in the Grand Prix, hopeless. In 2002, beaten 7 sets to 3. In 2003, even worse, 7 sets to 2. No matter how strong parts started, Taylor always finished stronger. He broke legs for fun, reset momentum like flicking a switch. Then there was Terry Jenkins. He made it to the final in 2006 and was promptly put down, 7 sets to 4. It was clinical, cold, and cruel. Jenkins never led, never looked likely, and it didn't stop there. Raymond van Barneveld, Taylor's great rival and one of the few men to ever truly challenge him, got a double dose of Grand Prix pain. Back-to-back finals in 2008 and 2009, and Taylor destroyed him both times, 6 sets to 2, then 6 sets to 3. Each time, Barney came in with hope, and left with heartbreak. That's the thing about Taylor. In tournaments that were supposed to be unpredictable, where even the best faltered, he was the constant. The Grand Prix was darts chaos, but for Taylor, it was just another arena, another trophy, another victim. You might think the smaller stage, the round-robin formats, the exhibitions, the weekly leagues might give rivals a fighting chance. Think again. In the Grand Slam of darts and the Premier League, Taylor suffocated any hope of an upset. Let's start with the Grand Slam, an elite event that gathered champions from across organizations. Taylor won it 6 times between 2007 and 2014. 2011, final versus Gary Anderson, score 16 legs to 4. Taylor averaged over 109. Anderson barely had time to breathe between legs. Then there was Dave Chisnell, the high-scoring, big finishing machine. In the 2014 final, he put up a fight, but Taylor held him off 16 to 13, snatching momentum every time Chisnell thought he had a lifeline, and that was the pattern. Opponents would throw everything and come away empty. Now let's talk Premier League, the weekly war zone, the pressure, the crowds, the travel, the format, all of it designed to wear down even the greatest, but not Taylor. He won the inaugural season and remained virtually untouchable for 3 years. Ask James Wade how that felt. In 2008, he lost the final 16 to 8. In 2010, another final, this time 10 to 8, and Taylor hit 2 9-darters in the same match. That's right, 2 perfect legs in one night. Wade also suffered in smaller league nights, including one match where he hit 6 180s and still lost 8 to 4. Even Gary Anderson, who would go on to become a world champion, admitted that playing Taylor in the league felt like a mental chokehold. Every miss, every hesitation, Taylor punished. In the Grand Slam, in the Premier League, in every format that demanded consistency and stamina. He set the standard. Every empire ends. But Phil Taylor didn't go quietly. His farewell was not a fade-out, it was a final roar, a statement, a last round of dominance to remind the world exactly who he was. In 2016, just as critics began whispering that the game had passed him by, Taylor entered the inaugural Champions League of Darts, a tournament stacked with the best of the modern generation, and he beat them all. In the final, facing Michael van Gerwen, the undisputed #1 at the time, Taylor produced a masterclass. He dismantled the Dutchman 11 to 5. It was a beating that silenced everyone. The old king had returned and reminded the new guard who set the standard. But he wasn't done. The following year, 2017, Taylor entered the World Match Play one last time, at age 56. No one expected a deep run. The sport had moved on, or so it seemed. Then Taylor lit the torch one final time. He took down reigning champion Michael van Gerwen in the quarterfinals. The score, 16 to 6. A complete ambush. And in the final, he faced Peter Wright, the most colourful personality in darts, ranked 2nd in the world. Taylor turned him inside out, 18 to 8. Dominant, relentless. That victory was his 16th match play title, a number no one has matched. It was also his last major win, a perfect send-off. Not a quiet retirement, but a conquest. He didn't limp away from the spotlight. He walked off stage with another trophy in his hands, and his rivals in pieces. Phil Taylor's final act wasn't a goodbye, it was a warning. Not all damage can be seen on a scoreboard. Phil Taylor's true power wasn't just in his averages or his titles, it was in the way he invaded the minds of his opponents. For over 2 decades, he didn't just win matches, he dismantled belief systems. Peter Manley, who lost 3 world finals to Taylor, once said, "You could feel beaten before you even threw a dart." Dennis Priestley, another world champion, put it even more bluntly. Facing Phil felt like climbing Everest with a dartboard on your back. It wasn't hyperbole, it was reality. Taylor's opponents walked on stage knowing what was coming, the cameras, the crowd, the weight of history, And in the middle of it all, Taylor, calm, silent, terrifying. Players choked before the first dart left their hand. Averages dropped, double percentages collapsed, confidence evaporated. The numbers prove it. John Part, a two-time world champion, was whitewashed 7-0 in a final. Peter Manley, same fate, twice. Even players who started hot would crumble mid-match, unable to keep pace with Taylor's relentless rhythm and emotionless focus. And the damage didn't end with the final double. Some players never recovered. They would lose to Taylor on the big stage and never return to that level again. Others became serial finalists only to see their careers reduced to footnotes in Taylor's story. Taylor didn't just outplay his opponents, he outlasted them. He made the stage his fortress. And for those who dared to challenge him, the price was not just defeat, it was psychological surrender. There are losses, and then there are executions. Across his career, Phil Taylor delivered some of the most brutal beatdowns in televised darts history. Performances so one-sided, they're still whispered about backstage. Let's revisit the 5 most vicious. Number 1, 2001 PDC World Final, Taylor vs John Part, 7-0. It's the only 7-0 scoreline in PDC World Final history. John Part, a future two-time world champion, never stood a chance. Taylor's scoring was surgical, finishing the final set with a 3-dart average of 141 to Part's 78. The crowd didn't cheer, they gasped. Part was left staring in disbelief, a champion reduced to a spectator.
For the 9-dart.
To throw first.
And when this guy concentrates,
Game on,
Copernicus and Galileo could go home. Oh, sloppy.
You're a hard taskmaster, sir. A very sloppy 140.
Till the good is better and the better best, John Gwynn.
He's the only man I've ever seen in a Lego 1001.
93.
I know I'm guilty of repetition, but back in 93, 94 in an exhibition, 4 consecutive 180s in a Lego 1001. It was amazing.
120.
Well, there you have it. 15 points between them in the 3-dart average, and Part is not throwing badly at all. But Taylor's on another planet.
59.
We don't know if there's water on the planet. We don't know if there's metal on the planet. But we know there's lightning on that planet! Striking the air for his 9th world title.
123.
I don't think the human being or
59.
the robot has yet been designed to handle Taylor.
118.
Match point.
So 18 for tops. 2001, a space odyssey.
98.
But at the moment for Taylor, there's still one little space to be filled in with one more dart.
And he does a Fred Astaire job back to the hockey. But the final poke at the final. Part, pressure in it. He has plugged and plugged and plugged away.
140.
So here we go for history, for his 9th world title.
Game shot. And the score championship.
Number 2, 2013. World Final, Taylor vs Michael Van Gerwen, 7-4. Van Gerwen, the rising force, looked poised to dethrone the king, but Taylor didn't blink. In the final few sets, he locked in and outfinished the sport's most explosive player, silencing the new era before it began. It was power versus promise, and power still ruled. Number 3, 2009, World Match Play Final, Taylor vs Terry Jenkins, 18-4. Terry Jenkins is no pushover. A multiple-time finalist, tough under pressure, but against Taylor, he was crushed. By leg 15, the score was 15-1. Jenkins barely touched the finish. Taylor didn't miss a beat. The final score, 18-4, read like a misprint. It wasn't. It was the benchmark for what a one-man demolition looks like in Blackpool. Number 4, 2011, Grand Slam Final, Taylor vs Gary Anderson, 16-4. Taylor's average, 109. Anderson, who had been on fire all week, was completely shut down. He couldn't string together more than 2 legs at a time. Taylor didn't just win, he lapped him. It was a battering on live television, and even Anderson admitted afterward, "He didn't let me breathe." Number 5, 1998. World Final, Taylor vs Dennis Priestley, 6-0. This is where the power went full mythic. Taylor didn't just whitewash Priestley, he did it with a 3-dart average over 101, nearly 18 points higher than Priestley's. The defending champion had no answer. It was the first time a PDC World Final had ended without a single set won by the opponent. It was a massacre, and it became legend. Each of these matches wasn't just a victory. They were eras ended, hopes shattered, futures rewritten. When Phil Taylor hit Top Gear, it didn't matter who stood across the oche. They were already finished. Phil Taylor wasn't just a great, he was the great. 16 world titles, 16 match play crowns, 11 Grand Prix wins, dozens of finals where his rivals barely put up a fight. Coming up next, why Michael van Gerwen truly hates Jelle Klaasen, a rivalry born in scandal, fired by pride, and still burning years later. You won't want to miss it.